people think that being a star is about being fabulous, being in the spotlight, having your picture taken all the time, and having everyone worship and adore you. Being rich, rich, rich. Having it all. And you know what? They're absolutely right. I'm so desperate.
For what, honey?
For some fun. He loves me. He loves me not.
Were there any messages?
He really cares about me.
Hello?
Dad?
Yeah?
Hi, it's me.
Well, hi, how are you?
I realize I haven't talked to you in a while, and I have no idea if you guys are coming to the show, what night, blah, blah, blah.
Well, whatever you guys can get us tickets for.
Dad, I can get you tickets any night you want to come.
Nobody talks about this on film? The insanity of doing this all on a documentary?
Why should I stop here?
But does anyone say it?
Who's anyone?
That's Al Pacino.
Hello, hi.
That's Madonna Stang.
Well, anyone that comes into this insane atmosphere, when they come into your dressing room, when they come wherever you are, they feel crazy.
I'm making this movie because I'm not afraid of the truth.
Truth or dare, Madonna?
Dare.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Welcome back. I can't wait to talk about this movie.
Oh.
And this person.
Oh, Mary. This is a good one.
We waited for a while for this one.
Yes, indeed, we have. We waited for a minute, but I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Well, I had a lot of fun watching it. Mm-hmm. Everybody out there listening, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott.
And these are the movies
that made us gay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Man, Scott... Let's just get right into it.
This movie is wild.
It is absolutely wild.
We just need to get right into it. We need to get the show on the road.
Yeah.
So we watched Madonna, Truth or Dare, released May 10th, 1991, directed by Alec Kashishian, with our friend Marlene.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Marlene, welcome to the show. You are one of my oldest, dearest friends.
This is very true.
I've known you for such a long time.
I mean,
Yes.
I've known you for over 10 years, but Pete has known you for decades.
Yes, indeed. And I feel like one of our biggest Madonna fan friends.
I think so. We always talk about Madonna with you, and sometimes you'll just be over hanging out, and we'll just go in a K-hole of Madonna videos on YouTube that we'll just sit and watch.
Yeah.
You know, I was 9 when the Lucky Star video came out.
Wow.
We didn't have cable in my home, so I was at my next door neighbor and friend's house. The Lucky Star video came on, and, you know, as a little girl, I was just like, she's so cool. She's so pretty. I like this song. And, you know, the following year, I was in 5th grade, the Like a Virgin album came out, and we were me and all the other little girls in my class.
Controversial. And I'm sure that you as a little kid probably just had an opinion about it.
I mean, it was just, I liked the music,
Yeah.
and she was, like, pretty, and, like, we were all, like, whipping out our rubber bracelets, and my sister and I were, like, plowing our grandma's, like, scrap bag for, like, lace bows we could put in our hair.
Love it.
I do remember once, even though we didn't have cable, there was, like, some video program that would come on Saturday mornings, and it was the Like a Virgin video came out, and my mom was like, "What is this you're listening to?"
A burning cross.
I do remember, like, after Saturday morning cartoons, probably, like, post Soul Train.
Yes.
You know, maybe it was, like, some Dick Clark kind of a thing that they would just show videos on American Bandstand, maybe.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we also only had cable, like, sporadically. Like, we would have it, and then we wouldn't have it. And then we'd have it, and we wouldn't have it. I mean, it's funny because you mentioned, we were talking about as we were watching it because we just finished watching this movie, all three of us together. And Marlene, you mentioned as we were watching, Scott asked you, how old were you in 90, 91 when this came out?
And this tour would have been the Blonde Ambition tour, and this would have been 1990.
Yeah, so they recorded it in 90. The movie comes out in 91. So you said you were...
I was a sophomore, 15 in 90, and then you said it came out May 91. That was the end of my junior year. I was 16.
And so, what were you saying about like kind of your musical taste at the time?
I mean, I was very much, like prior to high school, I was just pop music, but then it was like, you get to high school and you're exposed to new music and friends introduce you. So like I was very into, alternative, new wave. Yeah. I loved The Cure. I loved Depeche Mode. I loved the Pixies, Stone Roses, all of that. Yeah. So, I mean, I always liked Madonna's music, but I wasn't like, in those years, I wasn't like super, I was into what I was into. Yeah. But it was all happening, it was very much talked about.
Yes.
This movie was talked about. I didn't see it when I was in high school.
Oh, no, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have even been allowed into the theater, but but I do remember the controversy, and like right around the time that this movie came out was when the Justify My Love video came out, and that was a huge controversy. So, I've always loved Madonna's music.
I think no matter where we go, like in our musical taste, how like cool or like alternative or whatever, that's just there because her music was like, it was, I don't know, like ubiquitous. Like it was just everywhere. And it's funny when you watch this, and I remember, first of all, sidetrack, I remember Warren Beatty being in a lot more of this.
Sure.
He's barely in it.
Yeah, barely,
But when he is in it, he's wearing sunglasses the whole time. And he just has this attitude about just like, she just can't do anything without the cameras on her.
Just a very disinterested attitude of like, why are you doing this silly movie?
But I think at the time, there's always been Madonna backlash. Always. As long as she's been a pop star, there's been backlash. And I remember at the time it was just, well, now she's got to have the cameras on everywhere she goes and all of that. And especially at this time, I think I was probably in the 7th or 8th grade. 7th grade in 90, 8th grade in 91. And at that point, I remember specifically, like you saying, you were getting into more like cooler tastes in music. I was still kind of listening to pop music. And I specifically remember this one instance when... Do you remember I Touched Myself by the Divinals?
Oh, yeah. That was a huge song.
Huge hit, right? Huge hit. Mm-hmm. And I hear it on the radio, and I'm like, oh, this is such a, like, scandalous song. And, when my mom would drive us to school, because my mom would drive us to elementary school, she would play the Top 40 station. She would play Kiss FM here in L.A.
And who was hosting the morning show on Kiss FM?
At that time, Rick Dees.
Rick Dees.
Oh, yeah.
Still Rick Dees.
Still Rick Dees.
Rick Dees in the morning.
That's right.
Kiss FM. And, they're playing the Divinals, and I'm just, like, shocked and just like, oh, my goodness, this song. And I get to school, and I hear, like, the cool girls, and they're just like, oh, my God. I heard I Touched Myself on Kiss FM this morning. And I was kind of like, well, where else would you hear it? Because they were already listening to K-Rock.
And that's where the Divinals broke in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's that thing where it's like the cool songs break on the college radio station, and then they eventually get to top 40.
Rodney would play them on...
Yes, Rodney would break
on
it.
On K-Rock,
at 1 a.m. on a Sunday. And then, weeks, months later, it would be, all over the world and on top 40 stations. And that was when I was like, oh... I don't listen to the cool music.
I'm a little behind the curve.
I'm a little late on this. And then, I was like, oh, K-Rock. All right. Noted. Mental note. But still always, like we said, Madonna was it was everywhere. Mm-hmm. This movie was parodied. We'll talk about the parodies.
We'll talk about the parodies later.
Yeah. Scott, what is your relationship growing up with Madonna?
So my relationship with Madonna is that I just never... I've always remembered her just being a massive star.
Yes.
And I would have been a little kid around the time this movie came out, and also she was in Dick Tracy. Yes. And I was thinking about on my walk today, I feel like Dick Tracy would have been what kind of introduced me to Madonna. Yeah. Just because Dick Tracy did have a very kid-friendly vibe to it.
Yeah.
And you just saw this beautiful woman, and it was Madonna singing Vogue. And I don't even think that I even watched Dick Tracy as a kid, but I just knew that's Madonna. She's in Dick Tracy, and she is a massive star. And I think that I remember I didn't really listen to Madonna seriously until Ray of Light came out when I was in junior high.
Right.
And that album for me was huge. Like, it was my big introduction to what a great musician Madonna was.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit younger than you two, but that album for me was Ray of Light.
Oh, it's a great album.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And that
So
was
good.
Madonna's semi-comeback album because she
Yeah,
had.
it was- I mean-
she was recording music over the age of 40,
Yeah.
which in the pop industry, it's like who is this grandma still recording albums over
yeah.
the age of 40? And Madonna, it's one of the most successful albums of Madonna's career.
Yeah, I feel like she got her first Grammy
Yeah.
for Ray of Light at like 40 or 41, whatever, when she got it.
Yeah, and specifically Truth or Dare. I just remember seeing this movie at the video store in the suspense section. Or was it special interest? I don't
probably
remember.
special interest.
It may have been special.
Maybe Body of Evidence was
Body
in
of
the
body
suspense
of
section.
evidence is definitely in suspense.
Which I've seen that. And
Oh, yeah.
We can talk a little bit about like my hot take on Madonna's acting career. But I remember seeing it at the video store and just thinking, "Oh, this is like a dirty movie." Of that when you look at the box, like she's on a bed.
Yeah.
It's like that red and white
Yeah, the logo.
color on the logo. I'm just like, this is not for kids. I can't watch this. And I feel like that just stuck with me all throughout when I was a teenager into my early 20s. I think that I properly sat down and watched this when I first started going out with Pete, that I had never
Okay.
actually seen the entire
Sure.
thing. So I probably watched it when I was like 25.
Yeah.
Just because it just still had that reputation of, this is very controversial. This is not for children. I don't think I can watch this yet.
But you loved documentaries and
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's almost a hybrid. Like it's a documentary for sure, but it's almost a concert movie.
Yes,
For sure.
too.
And
Yeah.
I was
Forget how many
reading that
numbers are in it.
the idea is that she was going to do a concert movie for HBO
Okay.
about the Blonde Ambition tour, and then it just sort of became this.
Sure.
It's sort of kind of, they want in the cinema verite style, shot in black and white,
Right.
all of the concert footage in color. David Fincher was originally supposed to direct it when it was supposed to be
Wow.
a proper concert movie.
Okay.
And then Alec came on board when the idea just sort of grew.
Okay.
And I know that Madonna was just impressed with student film work that he had done, that she wanted to work with somebody young and cool, like a young, cool, up-and-coming filmmaker.
All right.
And that's what landed this director the gig.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the music video portions. I mean, they're not even music video portions, but the performance portions are like crazy. The way, like, the amount of cameras on stage and
Yeah.
coverage, and the way they're edited and shot. As a matter of fact, I think the holiday portion was shown as a video on MTV.
Sure.
Like that entire year.
I think it's still the music video. When you look up Holiday, the video, I think it's
this.
I think it's the Blonde
Yeah,
Ambition tour.
probably.
Well, yeah, because when Holiday was recorded, that was like 82.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
that
think
was
there
very
was.
early.
I've seen like footage of her performing it in some like tiny little club
Yeah.
way back, but that was never the official video.
Right. So, yeah, but I mean, this movie was pretty impactful. I think it did have a reputation of being risque, though. I mean, even at the time.
Yep.
But I mean, that's Madonna.
Now, as I watch it, I'm like, it doesn't seem very risque.
No, it doesn't seem too bad at all. But she fully says in the movie, you know, there's several points in the movie where she's talking about her art and her artistic expression and what are her goals as an artist. And a lot of times she's just like, I'm just here to push people's buttons.
Yeah.
She even said
I'm
at one
here to-
point, like, I'm not the best singer, I'm not the best dancer, I'm just here to...
I'm here to get you to think,
Get people
and to
talking.
have a good time. I love that scene with her dad where she's just like, "Dad, just tell me like how many tickets you want." And it kind of, it's one of those great humanizing moments that Madonna probably really wanted to do for the documentary, that you put Madonna on this pedestal of that
Yeah.
she's such an icon, but Madonna still has a relationship with her parents just like we all do. Like, she's all seeking for approval. They all, like, her parent, or like I should say, like her dad and his wife,
Right.
because she lost her mom at a very early age, that she's still sort of like seeking approval for them That kind of, she's Madonna. She does stuff that's promiscuous, but I mean, she wants her dad to see the show, and the show is very
provocative.
And that conversation, I think, is really cute.
I realize I haven't talked to you in a while, and, you know, I hope everything's okay and everything, but I have no idea if you guys are coming to the show, what night, blah, 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 and all that stuff.
I don't know.
So what's going on?
Your night's okay.
Well, so who wants to come? And when?
Well, whatever, you know.
I mean, Dad, I'd love it if you'd come to both shows. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty racy in some sections. I don't know if you could take it 2 nights in a row.
Oh, you had to get racy on me.
Dad, I'm not getting racy. I've been racy.
I know, but can't you tone it down a bit?
What, for you?
Yeah.
No, because that would be compromising my artistic integrity.
Of course. You undress in this performance?
No.
Oh, God.
Of course I don't.
Okay. Well, whatever you guys can get us tickets for,
Dad, I can get you tickets any night you want to come.
would be great.
Just tell me how many tickets you want.
I love, though, when the dad's like, well, what night, when can you get me tickets? And she's like, I can get you tickets.
I'm Madonna. Yeah.
How
many do you want?
Been an issue.
Yeah. Come on. I just need you to tell me who's coming, how many, and, you know, then we'll figure it out.
And like when you see her 2 brothers in the movie, I think that relationship is fascinating.
Right.
You don't see too much of it, but you
Right.
can tell like, oh, these 3 have like, there's a lot going on in this family.
Well, when she
and just
talks,
this dynamic.
When she talks to her father, she mentions somebody going into rehab. Is that the older brother that they're talking about? I wonder.
I believe so,
Yeah.
because I think that's the older brother who was even in more recent years homeless.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And definitely, you know, I think I had read that Madonna had put him through rehab.
Sure. Yeah, because in the, you know, she's calling her father, catching up, and she's talking about someone and says, how are they doing? You know, is he in rehab? Like, how's it going? La-di-da. And then when we meet the older brother, what's the older brother's name? I forgot.
Gosh.
I forgot.
Anthony?
Anthony, that sounds right. She says something about, like, or he talks about being in rehab, and then she says something about, like, he said he'd rather do the rehab than jail time. So it's like maybe it was, you know, he wasn't in the right headspace to go to rehab in the first place. And then there's a whole thing about when she tells the security, like, when he comes, he can bring people, but not an entire entourage. He's going to get crazy. Like, shut it down if there's too many people. So it's like she knows that there's stuff going on with this brother or whatever. And then there's Christopher.
Christopher.
And is that her younger brother?
And Christopher works the closest with her.
Yes, I think
right?
he's a little
I think he's younger because
Yeah.
in the photograph, in the family photograph, you could see little baby Madonna on the right, and then there's a younger boy.
Yeah.
And so I think it's got to be Christopher. And he was working with her on this tour. And you said he wrote a book?
Yes, I read the book.
Okay.
It's pretty riveting.
Ooh.
What was his official title?
Oh, who knows?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember, but like he did a lot on the girly show tour. Like, I mean, he kind of like directed it, choreographed it.
wow.
Like
Okay,
he had
sure.
a big role. I mean, their relationship, you really get the feeling with reading this book. It was just very tumultuous. I mean, he goes over a lot of his hurts and just feeling like he wasn't properly recognized, compensated for work he did, raked over the coals at points, held to a very high standard. And I mean, I think from what I understand is they didn't talk for years after that book came out.
Oh, wow.
Years and years. And they finally made amends now.
Wow. When was the book released?
It was like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's good. It's like, it's a fast read.
I need to
Sure.
get hold of it.
You're just like, what's next? What's next?
Oh, I also wanted to mention my big introduction to Madonna. When I would go home from school, I loved watching the Rosie O'Donnell show.
Yes.
And Madonna was just she was always the funnest guest whenever
Right.
she would go on because they worked with each other on League of Their Own, and they just had this unique bond with each other. And they talk about how it was probably the loss of their mother when they were
Right.
kids.
Right.
That just sort of bonded their relationship on A League of Their Own, and they just kept up.
And
Yeah.
I think they both lost their moms to breast cancer.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so.
But she would be really fun when she would come on. Like, she would just grab, like, PA's babies and just, like, walk on with them. Of, like, who is this little child that Madonna is holding as she's doing this interview?
Well, that was a bit she was doing because she had just had Lourdes.
Yep.
and she was doing a bit like, "Oh, here I am holding a baby.
Here's
but
my baby.
it's not
Just
my
kidding.
baby."
It's not my baby.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like Madonna's public persona in the 80s and the 90s, like we were saying, she's out there to push buttons. When she would go on talk shows and stuff, it was always like a huge event.
And her
going on Letterman,
and like her most recent appearance on Jimmy Fallon,
yes,
is that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it doesn't quite go down as well now as it did.
I think it did. She was just up to her old tricks. I
Yeah.
thought it was very like much Madonna on Letterman,
But just like Jimmy Fallon, just like being nervous at his desk, talking to Madonna.
As he should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's my age,
Yeah.
so he grew up with her too.
Yeah,
Like it was different for him than it would have been for Letterman because
Yes.
he grew up with her also. So it's just like, oh my God, Madonna's on my show.
Yeah.
She's crawling all over my desk. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's just that she just always, like I said, she was ubiquitous. She was always around, and I think there was always backlash for whatever reason. My older sister had a subscription to Sassy.
As did I.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe it was a review for this movie or something, but I remember reading it and it was just so like snarky. I was just like, oh, what's wrong with Madonna?
I mean, Madonna was like nominated for Worst Actress at the Razzies. Like,
yeah,
come on, like fuck off Razzies. But yeah, like its reception. While there was good reviews, there was also a lot of bad reviews.
Okay.
I mean, much like when she made Evita, like there were the people that loved it. And then there were also the haters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think as like a documentary, as a concert film, as all that stuff, it works really well.
I think it's super successful.
Yeah, it's super successful.
And especially when you look at now and just how far documentaries have come. I mean, this was the highest grossing documentary until Bowling for Columbine in 2002.
Wow.
Like, for a time when documentaries did not make money.
But I think, too, well, it's Madonna. And I think there is also that mystique of, like, what's she going to do? What is going to be in this movie? You know? So I think people just went to go see it to see, like, how are we going to be, like, shocked or, what kind of behind-the-scenes information are we going to get? And I think you got what you paid for in 91.
And it's also, when you think about it, of just how far reality television has come, that Madonna was on to acting for the camera decades before, like, Kris Jenner and the Kardashians.
Yeah, true.
That, like, she was like, this was Madonna, but it was just a little heightened for the camera.
Yeah, I kind of got that more on this watch. That she was a little more like out of the corner of her eye, like, all right.
I got that in the scene where she was going off about her headset cutting in and out. It seemed to me, I mean, I'm sure she was frustrated, but that scene for me, for some reason, struck me as being very like for the cameras.
Yes, yeah.
Why have you never done it before?
Well, possibly there's something going on in the building that we didn't have it sound checked.
Well, I want to do something that is going to, like, check everywhere to make sure this doesn't happen again. Because it happened in Where's the Party, and it happened in...
So what you don't understand is that there's no way of checking things. We can do things that sound check.
How come it's not happening to Nikki and Donna?
I have no answer for that. Because if there's something very close to your frequency on...
Well, if you don't find an answer, Keith, you can't... I mean, I'm singing a cappella and my fucking headset goes out. And everybody thinks the fucking show is over with.
Things come into the building.
Well, how come it didn't happen to the girls?
Because they're all on separate frequencies. So there's something...
Well, put me on their fucking frequency and
Yeah, I agree. But it's good. I was
good.
going to say it's good TV.
It's good TV. It makes for a good scene in a documentary.
Yeah. So, I mean, this movie kind of... Well, this whole Madonna era, but I think this movie really cemented like her look in a lot of people's minds.
Because whenever you think about Madonna, you immediately go to the Gaultier comb bra and the
ponytail.
And the ponytail, yep.
And the heavily drawn, like the dark eyebrows.
Oh, the eyebrows, yeah. Oh,
and
man.
sometimes
her makeup
in your
is
mind,
so good. She's so beautiful.
And sometimes in your mind, you kind of tie in the comb bra with the ponytail.
Well, that's the thing.
But that's not the case.
Well, no, she goes back and forth.
Yeah.
Because in some shots, she's there and she has the high pony and she's like doing her prayer circle. And then in other shots, they're showing the concert footage and she just has the like loose curls or the really tight curls, depending on how early it is in the show. But I think she would change it up. because when the footage of Like a Virgin on the velvet sex couch or the king size bed that they bring into the middle of the stage, in the color footage that we see that plays the whole song, she's got the short curls, but then like later on there's other footage of her doing it again. I think it's on the television news footage, and she's got the pony. So I think they would just kind of switch it up, because my other thing too was like, I think she would just probably commit to one a night. I don't know that, could she have that crazy?
I was thinking about that too.
That's a good question.
In one show.
Well, I was also
curls.
Well, I also think that the like a Virgin song was probably not the Night of Toronto.
No, that wasn't the Night of Toronto.
That was probably just at a different show.
Yeah, that was
but
just,
for all intents and purposes, it's the night of the show.
Yeah.
Due to the miracle of editing.
Yeah.
But that's a whole thing with just like concert movies and editing that you see that a lot in reality TV. Is you might be presented something like it's a linear story, but in reality they're probably filmed on different days. So that was another thing that maybe audiences weren't too familiar with at the time.
But we are now. Yeah. We know what is reality, really.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think because we watch so much of it, we kind of have an eye for it now. So, like, you know, there were some, every now and then I was like, if you didn't see something coming out of somebody's mouth, I don't trust it. You know, I'm like, did they loop that? I'm watching them and like, I feel like they came back in and like had them say that again. You know, but if like they would kind of show them from behind or whatever, so I'm like kind of suspicious of all that stuff. But hey, whatever. It's as verite as you're going to get, for the subject matter. But this movie, I feel like, was also kind of eye opening for people because, again, 1991, her tour has her two backup singers who I love. Backup singers and dancers. I had their names up just now. I'm going to find them again. But not only did it have the backup singers, Donna DeLorean and Nikki Harris, but it also has the 7 dancers who are featured heavily throughout. And it was just kind of like very matter of fact that these guys, 2 of them are from the New York drag ball scene.
They're from the House of Extravaganza.
There are 2 extravaganzas in this movie. And then, you know, the other dancers in this movie are 6 out of the 7 are all gay. Whether their outness at the time is disputed, and that's kind of become an issue with this movie after the fact. But it was presented in a way that it was just like, these are these people in this show. And it was kind of like, I guess you hadn't really seen anything like that.
Nope.
You know?
And Madonna was very, when she was like, Madonna, when she had these dancers come on, she was very adamant, I think, of, I want you to be yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that with gay backup dancers, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, probably for acts like Janet Jackson or Paula Abdul, you're going to be a dancer, but you kind of have to butch it up a little bit. Like, you can't present as too gay.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to isolate the audience.
But I mean, once the music comes on and the choreography hits in, it's like, oh, that's out the window. Yeah. Because the choreography was very flamboyant, very feminine, very from that like New York drag ball scene where she brought these people from. I remember specifically, I mean, because all these guys are also in the Vogue video, right? Yeah. The official Vogue video.
Right, yeah.
They're all in it, right? And so to me, at the time, I just thought, well, this is her like company that she does everything with. But when you see this movie, and then especially when you see Strike a Pose, the kind of follow-up sequel, I guess,
documentary made in 2015.
Yeah. They just kind of, you know, once the tour ended, it was just like, all right, that's the end of the tour. It was a gig, and they kind of all went their separate ways. But I remember specifically at the time seeing the Vogue video and, you know, seeing the holiday, you know, video on MTV or whatever, and just seeing all these guys. Oh, the VMAs,
the Vogue performance when she's dressed as Marie Antoinette. All of them are in it.
They're all there. I remember specifically, he goes by Slam. His name is Salim. He's from Belgium, I think. I remember seeing him at the time as a kid and just being like, well, he can't be gay. because he's just so like masculine looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the time, I was just like, okay, maybe those guys are, but he's just a dancer, you know, and just kind of like not knowing, like, I don't know, just my dumb kid self just thinking, well, he's too muscular or tall or whatever. It's so weird how you just kind of think about those things.
I remember first being pointed out when I was watching Showgirls once that Kevin is a notable dancer in Showgirls.
Yes.
And that kind of blew my mind.
He has lines in Showgirls.
Yeah, he has lines in Showgirls.
I have not seen that since I was in college, and I don't remember him in the movie.
Kevin's in Goddess. He's Kevin's half Chinese.
Yeah, that guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's in Goddess.
Yep. And you see Kevin come up a lot in movies that need really good dancers. Like he's in one of the Austin Powers movies.
I think he's in 2 Austin Powers
movies. He's probably in the opening number in the first movie.
For the first 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely is.
And I think they got him back for gold member, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just kind of, I think that Kevin kind of reached the pinnacle success for that type of dancer.
And you know, the interview I saw with him and Oliver and the other guy, what's his name? I can't remember. Kevin talked about how he's over the years gotten so many letters and fan mail from people saying like, I'm Asian and you're the first Asian person I've ever seen like in a movie and, you know, successful in the entertainment industry. And I mean, that's something that's still an area where there's a lot of room for growth.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, like Scott was saying, he's in the Rent movie, he's in the Birdcage. He's Austin Powers. He's in so much stuff. And it's like you were saying, to be a professional dancer, I mean, barring being in like a ballet company or something like that, that's probably like, you know, working in videos and movies and all that. It's probably the height of what you could achieve. Mm-hmm. And they all look really good still to this day.
They do.
I just followed Kevin on Instagram for
the other ones. Page. Carlton, Louise, and Jose are from the House of Extravaganza. Mm-hmm. Slam and Oliver was the one straight guy that every single moment in Truth or Dare, he was here to remind you that he was not gay.
He seemed very uncomfortable in points.
Yeah.
And that with the scene where they're playing Truth or Dare, he just kind of gets up. He seems really upset.
This shit's too much. I can't do it. But I mean, like, Oliver would have come from like the projects in like New Orleans. So imagine being like 20 years old.
Well, that's the thing. They're all so young.
Yeah.
Like, okay. When, you know, Madonna talks a lot in this movie about like, you know, they're my children and I'm this mother figure and, you know, all of that. And there's the whole thing of like, well, maybe I just like want to be motherly to them because you know, I'm looking for like a motherly figure and, you know, all that. There's all that talk about that. And every now and then I'm like, all right, Madonna, you're their mother, whatever. They're like grown ass people.
Get over yourself.
Yeah. But then I look at it and it's like, Kevin was born in 69.
Kevin would have
Slam was born in 68.
19 or 20
kids,
when he met her.
They would have been like 22 on this tour. And that guy Oliver, you said, is about your age.
A couple years older.
He would have been like 18, maybe. They are children. Like I never realized, you know, when you watch it as a kid or even as an adult, you're just like, okay, whatever. But then when you think about it, even if, you know, 23, that's so young to like leave your family and go on a world tour with Madonna, like the biggest.
No pressure.
Yeah. And to be so front and center on the tour and the videos and the VMAs and everything, they really were like, it was like a band. They were all part of like this group. And so, yeah, they really were kids. And, you know, for the longest time, I was always like, oh my God, Madonna, shut up. The children. But it's like, yeah, okay. No,
she would have been seeing them as children. I mean, 10 years at that.
Exactly. Yeah.
At that point in life between like being in your early 20s and your early 30s, it is a big gap.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, I mean, even now, but yeah, for her being probably, you know, in her early 30s, like you said at the time, she was probably just like, oh my God, these kids. But yeah, very, very interesting that dynamic. And just like, you know, these kids out on the road, like I think I read something that the director was saying that the interviews when they were all in bed with her, that he got those because they would do the shows at night, and then go out all night partying in whatever city they were in, and then they would come back to the hotel, go to bed, and sleep until the afternoon, and get up and just do the show again the next night.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have like daytime hours at all. And then after the show, they were partying. So the only time that he could like get them to, you know, sit down and do any interviews for this movie would just be like right when they're going to go to bed.
And wasn't the European release, I could be wrong, it wasn't called Truth or Dare, it was called In Bed with Madonna?
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Truth or Dare is better.
I think so.
I like it better than that. But yeah, but it's like if I'm 22 and I'm a dancer and I'm on tour with Madonna and I'm in a country I've never been before, or even just all over the U.S. These guys were so young, and most of them probably didn't come from money. Yeah,
and now they're walking through like Chanel boutiques, and they come out and there's like flash bulbs in their face and paparazzi.
Yeah.
It must have been heady.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, and it's interesting that only like we said, 6 out of the 7 are gay. And, this took place at a certain time when you look back sometimes on movies and music or whatever. And, sometimes you look somebody up that was a certain age around this time and you're like, oh, no, they're not with us anymore. Oh, I wonder why. Mm-hmm. So the only one that actually did pass away that was HIV positive was Gabriel. Mm-hmm. And he's not really featured that much in this movie.
Just a little bit. I mean, the big scene is the kissing scene for the Truth or Dare.
Yes.
And that was a big issue for that dancer.
Yeah.
Sort of his exposure from that kiss was just too much for him.
And wasn't that what generated the lawsuit? Like, that was part of it. It was like they were told in the contract, like, if there's a scene that you don't want, you will have the right to ask for it to be taken out. And I think I heard in the interview that I was referencing with you guys that he hadn't been out to his family. So that was why it was a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate that there was this lawsuit afterwards.
And I think that with Oliver and Kevin, because they were also
part of the suit.
I think with them it was payment of not being compensated for being in the movie, because I think that they may have had conversations with Madonna that she was like, oh, you'll get paid for being in this movie, and it never happened.
Yeah.
And you think, like, why not? Like, I'm sure it generated so much money. She has so much money. Why was that withheld?
Yeah. Or if they did have to, like, take it all the way to, like, a lawsuit, why not just be like, all right, we'll just pay you.
Well, I think that, and they did end up settling it.
Yeah,
too.
So I mean, but yeah, but that's all covered in Strike a Pose. So you can go watch that on Tubi.
It's on Tubi. We just watched it today.
It's on Tubi with it's free, but there's commercials. But you can go watch that if you have that app. But I mean, so this movie it was very kind of groundbreaking in its portrayal of, these gay people in the 90s. And they didn't really touch upon, like... Did they really touch upon, like AIDS or anything like that in the movie?
They did, because she's talking about...
Keith Haring.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And friends dying. And I think didn't, like, John... Basquiat was one of her friends, and didn't he die of AIDS too? Or did he? Or was it a drug overdose?
We'll check that. I think he might have OD'd. Okay. Because she dated Basquiat for a while, but It's funny because there's the scene that you were mentioning with the sound problems is an LA show, and the footage from after that show is crazy. Because it's just like every shot is just like some random person. She's just like, here, Jean-Paul Gaultier, this is Al Pacino. Nice to meet you. You're like, what is going on? And then there's the infamous interaction with Kevin Costner.
Oh my gosh, Kevin Costner. Just looking like your dad. Yeah. Trying to be cool, going back to meet Madonna, and says her show is neat.
Yeah, that was awkward.
But I love too that she's just like, all right. Once she hears that, she's just like, all right, cool. Well,
see you later.
See ya. She just doesn't really have any more time for him. After
and then kind of does the finger in the mouth motion, like gagging.
Yeah.
And like she fully knows this is on camera. Like this is going to get back to him.
Yeah.
But Madonna does not give a shit.
She does not give a shit.
She gives zero fucks.
But that's got to be such a weird thing. Like if you're a musician or whatever, and you're playing a show in LA, and then they're like, well, it's the LA show, so everybody's going to want to come backstage and meet you. And it's just like, but I don't know these people. What the hell? Just like I have to like shake hands with these people because like we're all celebrities.
And kind of going off that, one of Madonna's big gripes about the LA shows is that when they put industry people in like the front 3 rows.
Yeah.
So she just says that it's a lot of serious-looking people with their arms crossed, not looking like they're having fun.
Yeah. I love that she... Well, that was a little bit more diplomatic. She says, like, 3, like, old fat asses or something.
Yeah, she did say fat asses.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh, my God. So they all look like William Morris agents in the front row. I love her just little kind of, like, not ticks, but just little things that she has. This throat spray.
Yeah, what was that all about? To relax her vocal cords?
Yeah,
or
maybe just like camphor, I don't know. Like some weird,
Well, there's that one scene where you're like, oh my God, like you're expecting her to stop and you're like, there's more spray and more spray.
Keeps going. Yeah. I hope it's Banaka. It's not Banaka. That would be terrible if it was just like alcohol breath spray.
Kind of these little Madonna-isms that are in this movie. Do you think that it was her saying that, what would be funny if I was eating something in like every other scene of this movie?
I'm going to have some sort of soup out of this giant tureen that would feed like a table of 6. I'll just eat my soup right out of it with a huge spoon while we're bleaching my roots.
Yeah.
But that's the intimate portrait of Madonna that you want to see, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the Lifetime, like, behind the music? Wasn't they called Intimate Portraits?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
I think, on
I
Lifetime.
loved Behind the Music. I miss Behind the Music.
I know.
I think it's back on the Paramount Network.
I think there's a couple of new ones, but they're weird. It's like J-Lo. I'm like, all right, I'll watch the J-Lo one, I guess. Was there ever a Madonna Behind the Music?
I'm sure there was.
I'm pretty sure there was.
Yeah.
It was around the Ray of Light time, I mean, when it came out.
Yeah.
I guess that we just got Madonna Rising, which we talked about in our best friend's wedding episode. I cut it in there somewhere with her and Rupert Everett. Are you familiar with Madonna Rising?
No.
So Madonna Rising, around the time Ray of Light came out, I think it was on VH1.
It was on VH1.
And she was driving around the Village in New York with Rupert Everett.
I did see
and
that.
And she was
I did
going
see that.
to her old places where she used to live, all the bodegas that she would go.
They ate Indian food at one point.
Yes.
And she would just be like barging into these apartments and just being like, "What's up, guys?
It's me.
It's me, Madonna.
I'm back."
And it's this 98 Madonna, which I love. And you get the fake British accent.
Well,
but that's just a part of Madonna that I love. Like, I love all that bullshit.
Affected Madonna. Oh, man.
The British accent seems to be gone now.
I think so. Yes, I think so. Now it's just, S&M, like, pants again. I don't know. She's
sassy. She's kind of going back to her, like, who's that girl era almost? Like, little, like, gum snapping, like, sassy.
Yeah. But I also saw, like, especially in the Fallon interview, I also saw, like, the Letterman interview with, like, the black hair parted down the middle, like the Mo from the Three Stooges haircut, and, like, a big cigar. Like, just kind of, like, too cool for the room or whatever. But I don't know. She can get away with it. She's Madonna. So, all right, yeah. There's just super iconic scenes that I feel like everybody just kind of remembers. Kevin Costner, of course, talking on the phone with her dad. It's a touching scene when she goes to the cemetery when she's in.
I don't know why I remember it being at the end of the movie, but it's in the middle of it.
It's smack in the middle.
I just assumed that that's where we're going to finish it.
Yeah,
but no, the movie finishes on the last song of the tour. But yeah, she fully goes to the cemetery like midway through.
I always remember the part where she's laying there and she says, I'm going to get buried here, right next to you, sideways, in between. I always laughed at that. I always thought that was kind of funny. But it's so interesting because, like, you know, the brother who's on tour with her goes with her to the cemetery. But, like, only Madonna can go up.
Just kind of standing under that tree, like gazing at her. I mean, I have to wonder, was he like, no, you go ahead, I'll just stand here? Or was she like, you can't come?
Yeah. Or the director was just like, you guys can, you know, pay your respects, do whatever you want, but for the shot, it'll be just her.
Probably.
Nobody wants to see Christopher at the kneeling down with her next to her. I don't know. I think maybe nowadays they would bring him in, but for this one, he was pensive off to the side, look, just watching. Yeah, but it's like it's his mom too.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about Warren Beatty. She, I don't remember which came first. Did she meet Warren Beatty on?
I'm pretty sure
on Dick Tracy, because not only did he star in this movie, but it was like this big passion project for him. For whatever reason, he directs, you know, this comic book movie, Dick Tracy, about like a 1920s or 1930s, like Sunday Funnies comic strip.
It was them capitalizing off of the success of Batman in '89.
Yes.
But Warren had to make this live-action Dick Tracy movie.
It's visually so cool. I thought it's really cool visually.
It is. It's like these bright colors. You know, he decided to use this like comic book color palette and all of that, and he did really interesting stuff with the makeup of these characters to make them look like their comic strip counterparts. But Dick Tracy was, it was definitely in the 90s, a completely dated comic. It doesn't have the staying power
even
of,
for
like,
the time.
Batman or whatever. But it's just, you know, Warren Beatty's an old dude. So it's probably something from his childhood, right? So I'm guessing he just hires Madonna, brings her in for this role. Breathless Mahoney.
Yep.
She doesn't really have a big role in the movie, but she's in it. And she releases the album, I'm Breathless. Love this title.
Was it songs from and inspired by the motion picture Dick Tracy?
Yes. Which Vogue.
Sure. Why not?
I don't know how that's inspired by Dick Tracy at all, but it's on this album. So they famously start dating. And Warren Beatty at this point is in his 50s. Like, probably, right? Mid-50s, I would say. And she's in her 30s, early to mid-30s. All right, 20 years difference.
Not that shocking of an age difference.
Crazy, but, you know, still an age difference. And he's in his 50s, and he's Warren Beatty. And it's the 90s, so he comes from like a different era, right? Somebody in their 50s.
And also, just Warren Beatty, who had a reputation of being a womanizer, too. Yes. That, like, Carly Simon's You're So Vain was famously written after Warren Beatty.
Maybe.
Well, I think that Carly Simon has confirmed that, too.
It's been myth busted? All right. Or confirmed. All right.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, but so this is like a famous kind of like Hollywood romance.
Well, she would have just been coming off of her relationship with Sean Penn too.
Yeah,
who she was married to.
When did they?
I think
split?
They divorced in like '89.
Oh wow! I thought it was like a couple of years before that. Oh, interesting. But so Warren is begrudgingly in this movie, and his scenes are, I don't know. I think it's kind of funny.
I think it's hilarious. I think he was like kind of out of his depth with her in a way. Like,
absolutely,
she was like his female counterpart. I don't think, and so ballsy and out there about it. I think he was just like, what?
Yeah. And you could tell that he was just not that willing to be kind of in the public eye as she was at this point in her career. And I think he was just like, sure, I'll be there, but I'm not really going to say much. And when he does say much, he's kind of making fun of her.
He's making fun of her, or he's off screen getting yelled at over the phone.
Yeah. Yes. And then he just kind of disappears. So it's like, I don't know. She does say, though, at one point that she gets sick, and I don't know, did they cancel some shows or something happens?
The doctor's like, and they had to cancel shows,
Well, when she can't talk and she has to write everything down. Yeah. Which I thought was just a very sitcom kind of thing to happen. I'm like, okay. Like a little chalkboard or something, But which they never do. They never kind of show her doing that, which, I don't know. They just didn't have time or whatever. But
I'm glad that they don't have anything on camera of her being nasty to her assistants.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
The scene, though, that did get me was, when she says to the makeup artist, you're the kind of girl I used to beat up. And she's not saying anything. And then later, the whole rape thing.
That scene is crazy.
It's really crazy.
It's crazy because this girl is telling the story about getting roofied, essentially, waking up back in her hotel room, things are stolen.
And the response is pretty much like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And very explicit, saying, like, my butt was bleeding.
Yeah.
Like, very, in no uncertain terms, explaining what happened to her.
And exactly like Scott said, the reaction is, wow, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
And Madonna laughs. Yeah. It's like a nervous laugh. But
and she apologized. I mean, she's not to the girl's face. The girl's not there, thank God. And she kind of is like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. But she did, And
then there was that one shot where it's like Madonna saying the prayer.
Yeah.
But the camera focuses on her and her head is just kind of like...
Yeah.
She seems kind of lost.
She's
like she's on the fringe
in
the back. And I'm just like, oh my God, someone needs to take care of you.
Yeah. Because Madonna's talking about, like, we need to have each other's backs and we need to watch out for each other and all this stuff. And then they just cut to her and she's just kind of like,
no one's got my back. No one.
And she says, like, I'm never going to go out again alone. I'm going to go out with you two from now on, to the backup singers. And they're both like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Just like, damn. This is crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, different times there's a lot of language in this movie that you couldn't get away with. Some things that we were saying that, like, well, that phone call would never make it on in a movie today.
Oh, yeah. Or like the Star. It was they were reading the Star and she quoted Star saying, like, and she doesn't care that he's black.
Yeah.
She's just, and it's just like, wow, that would never fly now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. So crazy. That article was nuts because it was linking her to Oliver, the one straight guy.
But it misnamed Oliver as Slam.
Called him Slam. Yeah. But... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Oliver prominently featured in this movie.
Prominently featured.
That he's kind of the main backup dancer that you see the most of.
Yes, he gets the most, like, one-on-one talking head time.
And I almost feel like was that like a director or a producer's decision of that this is the one straight dancer, so I feel like this is the one that we can show the most on camera, and maybe he'll be a little more accessible to the audience.
Well, it's interesting because I'm thinking, because there's so much concert footage, so I'm thinking, wow, this concert is provocative. It's like,
I mean, there's
over the top,
and there's a full setup and costume change for almost every single number.
Yes, but I'm thinking the choreography is so, like, over the top, like, feminine, and, like, these dancers are very clearly, like, gay and doing these very, like, like...
especially for the Like a Virgin number.
Yeah, doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm thinking, what are these, like, straight men in the audience thinking? But then I'm like, well, it's a Madonna show. So it's either, like, dads or boyfriends. Or husbands, that are just there. That's just like, yeah, okay, it's Madonna, whatever. I know the songs because they're always on. But those men are not
dads,
going.
boyfriends, or gay men.
Well, yeah,
or gay men.
Yeah, I was going to say that those are the people that are going to be thinking, well, what's going on? Everybody else is there to see it. Everybody else are gay men, and women that are there to see that specifically. So they don't care because that's the Madonna that they love. And so I'm thinking about the audience for this movie too. That maybe the studio execs are like, well, we got to, like, have somebody to make it more accessible. But probably the men that went to pay to see this movie in the theater were probably all gay guys.
Yeah.
And then, the husbands and boyfriends.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they shot stuff with the other dancers and they just didn't use it. I don't know.
Or was it, he does sort of set up a certain tension. It's like, by being, new to this world and even maybe a little homophobic, he
sort of represents the audience.
Yeah. And Madonna was executive producer on this. So I wonder how much of a decision, she wanted to highlight and, like, underline his discomfort to just sort of hold a mirror up to the rest of society.
Yeah, totally. And as we know from watching The Real World and The Real Housewives, if you're not giving them a storyline, then you're not going to be heavily featured.
Exactly.
So maybe if some of the other ones were just like, I'm going to bed, like then they're not going to, you know.
They weren't sticking around when they were rolling the cameras around Madonna.
Yeah. So if he was being a little bit more vocal about, you know, about the tensions or whatever, and, you know, they do show the rest of them going off to like a pride parade, you know, and he's not there with them and all of that.
And then after that, they were kind of really like, kind of like tearing him down. Do you think it was because he didn't go with them and they were just like, you suck?
Yeah, probably.
Madonna had to take him aside and say, you need to quit bullying him.
Well, that was the thing. That was my question, because she comes in and she's like, because it's presented as if it's after they're reading this article from the Star or whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows? Could have been then. Could have been another time. But so she comes in and says like, leave him alone or whatever, because, you know, this article in the Star came out and he's like sensitive about it. But then when she's talking to him kind of one-on-one, it's a weird kind of vibe, because I don't know if she's like angry with him, if he's angry with her. Like, I couldn't kind of get a feel for this conversation.
I mean, I guess I
think she was apologizing.
I think for her, she's just like, you know, I'm the most famous person in the world.
Yeah.
You are surrounded by me, and this is sort of the life that I lead. This is what the paper, the Star...
The paper?
Yeah. This is the type of thing that ends up in the Star a lot.
Yeah.
So you just need
don't worry
to
about it. Yeah.
buck it up and get used to it.
Yeah. Because it's an
don't
interesting
take it so
conversation.
personal.
Yeah, and I think he kind of... Because it almost felt like towards the end of the conversation, she was like... kind of not dismissive of him, but a little like, all right, shut up now.
And he seemed kind of pissed.
Yeah, that's why I don't get it, because I'm like, he's
well, she kind of
mad.
gives him at the end of that. She kind of gives him, "Don't give me any attitude, because I'm not gonna be featuring it."
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe he's just mad about it. But you're right. I think she was just like, dude, this happens all the time. Mm-hmm. She's linked to, you know,
be flattered that you're linked with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Because she would get in the paper all the time with different suitors. We get Sandra Bernhard.
Yay! I kind of want Debbie to show up in this movie, but she never does. But we get Sandra,
friend of Madonna, Debbie Mazar.
Friend of Madonna. I mean, Debbie has known Madonna since the beginning, since she moved to New York.
Yes. We follow Debbie Mazar on Instagram, and like she like posted this big thing for Lourdes just had a birthday. So she posted all these pictures of Lourdes, and she's like, I've been with you since the beginning, kiddo. And I'm just like, oh,
Aunt Debbie.
Man, that's so cool.
I think she was at Madonna's birthday party this year, because I follow Madonna on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure I saw her at this like crazy birthday party.
Wow, that would be fun.
Madonna's,
I mean, even if it's her like 63rd birthday.
Oh, we need to. I'll pull it up. We need to pull this up and check it out.
Madonna's Instagram is out of control, and one of those reminders that Madonna does operate her social media.
She does herself,
so,
right?
Like you can just sort of tell.
Oh yeah,
this is a Madonna post. This is not an assistant.
Yes,
that's funny. Well, yeah, we'll have to check out this party. Debbie Mazar, her daughters are beautiful.
Oh, really?
Her daughters are stunning. Yeah, they've got those Debbie Mazar blue eyes.
They have those Debbie eyes.
And her husband is an Italian race car driver, like from Italy, and he also has like bright blue eyes.
They write,
like her. And they're beautiful. He's beautiful.
They
like
write cooking
the whole
books with
family.
each other.
Like,
yep.
he's crazy beautiful. Like it's Debbie Mazar, obviously, and then her two daughters. You're just like, oh my lord, this family, get out of here. But she is not featured in this movie. But Sandra is. Scott asked me this question the other day. Do you think that Sandra Bernhard and Madonna still talk? I don't know. Why not?
I hope so. I hope that they're at least like text message buddies.
I seem to recall hearing they had a falling out.
Oh, no.
I don't think they do.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Yeah, but who knows? Sandra Bernhard is one of those 90s personalities that was just like, kind of like a Madonna, outspoken, you know. It's just so interesting to say and to hear yourself saying in like 2021 that like to qualify it like for a woman.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like she was like outspoken and baughty and this and that, and it's like she was a stand-up comic, a performance artist, a model, a comedian, all of these things. But I think she was most well known for just having kind of like a mouth on her, really. You know?
She didn't acquiesce to societal expectations of how a woman should act.
Yes.
And I think her and Madonna, there's footage of it I've seen. They're on some talk show. Is it David Letterman? And they're just like, the two of them are like bantering and they're just going off and they don't care, you know, how it's coming across.
I wonder if it's Arsenio.
I think it is.
It might be Arsenio.
Yeah, I think it is.
We also like watching Rosie and Madonna on Arsenio.
Yep.
That's a funny one too. But yeah, I feel like I remember that. Because Arsenio got like good guests. Like he got like the cool guests. Letterman would get Madonna.
His Madonna solo interview is really good.
Arsenio? It's just him and her?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's just Madonna probably likes women like Sandra because she can just sort of keep up with her.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because she's probably, I mean, it must be kind of it's probably cliche to say, but it's like probably an isolating kind of life to be somebody like Madonna. You know, you're surrounded by all these people.
It's hard to relate to people.
How do you relate to everyone?
They always want something from you.
Yeah. Oh man, speaking of which.
Oh, we need to talk about
Maureen.
We need to talk about the childhood friend. So I completely forgot.
Was so bizarre.
I forgot about this character when revisiting this movie.
Yeah.
And when you see those scenes of her.
Okay, it's not that bad. I was getting flashbacks.
It doesn't get into like Cousin Vicky territory from
Anna
the Anna Nicole Smith show.
No, this woman has all of her teeth, thankfully.
Yeah.
I think her name's Maureen or Marion or something like that. She's just Madonna's kind of talking about. Are they just talking about their youth or something?
Childhood friends that they've known each other since they were like in kindergarten.
And we cut to this woman in a hotel room, and it's. I don't know. It's wild.
Cut to this woman with her kids running around this hotel room. Yeah. And she's talking about just sort of her relationship growing up with Madonna.
And then, though, telling Madonna that she's pregnant and asking her to be godmother to her child, what threw me was you kind of got the impression it's not like she's not like Sandra Bernhard or Debbie Mazar to Madonna. It's not like they've been close.
Yeah.
It's like she's been out of the picture. She's just kind of like, oh, it's been so long. But yet she's asking her to be godmother to her child.
And you don't know what the circumstances of her at this concert, who reached out to who. Does she reach out to Madonna's people?
Well, I wasn't even getting. Was she at the show?
I think that she's at the show.
Yeah, okay.
Because she mentioned that she dedicated a song to her.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, like who reached out to who, and then they comped her these tickets.
Yeah.
And then,
well, the conversation is crazy too because they're just talking. Oh, it's been years. You know, la di da. Nice to see you. La la la. And then she's just like. I need you to sit down. I have to talk to you about. I have to ask you something. And immediately Madonna's like, it just clicks. I have to ask you something, and she's like, "Oh, I can't sit down. Yeah, I don't have time. Yeah, I cannot sit." Because I think at this point she's just like, "Oh, what's she going to ask me? You know, how much? You know, where?" Because it's like you probably get hit up a lot from weird family members coming out of the woodwork and. Childhood friends and all that.
And then she starts crying, remembering Madonna's mom's passing. Yes. But I'm kind of like, are the tears over that? Or are the tears over the fact that you really deep down know Madonna was just like, bye.
Yeah.
And it didn't go, the interaction didn't go the way you planned. Yeah. That's how was kind of my read on it.
And you put yourself in Madonna's situation of that if this woman that you grew up with and you haven't spoken to in decades asks you to be the godmother to her unborn child, is Madonna just being like, I don't want to have to deal with this shit.
Because at first, as we're watching the movie, I'm sitting there going, just baptize this chick's baby. Who cares, Madonna? But then as we're talking about it, we're like, but then she's going to be on the hook as this baby's godmother forever, you know? So, and then it's going to be that thing where it's like, oh, your godmother, Madonna, like, only sent you like a T-shirt from Target, you know? Because that's the thing. When the woman first says like, "I need you to sit down, I have something to ask you," then you're like, "What is it?" Then she comes out with, "Do you remember the letters I wrote you?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, what is it? What was in the letters?" And then she starts saying, "You know, I have 4 boys." And, I asked you a long time ago to baptize my boys. And do you remember? And Madonna's like, of course I remember. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then when she comes out with, okay, well, I'm pregnant again. And I really want a girl. I really want it to be a girl. And, I want you to, be
pray over my belly.
And pray over the baby. We're going to name it Madonna. And we're going to name it Madonna. And all this. And that's when she's like, all right, I gotta hit the dusty trail. I gotta, and it just gets more and more. And it's, like I was saying, she's not asking for money. She's not saying like bail my husband out of jail. She's just saying baptize my baby. But at the same time, that's a big ask.
It's a personal connection with someone that you might not want to be tied to for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And then like she asked Madonna to pray over her or whatever, bless it, or like, so that she has a girl.
Yeah.
And then talking about Madonna's mom and saying like she was the closest thing to God. Like I would pray to her.
Yes, pray to her. To Madonna's mother.
Oh boy.
And you were 5 when she died.
Yes.
So, like, I was just kind of getting single white female vibes from this woman after a while.
Absolutely. But yeah, because when she started talking about that, I was like, but weren't they small children? Small children don't have this. If one of my friend's parents died when I was 5, I don't think that would register at all for me.
No.
Even if it was your neighbor or whatever, maybe later on. But yeah, it just kind of seemed a little off. And then you see this woman and you're just like Scott was mentioning Cousin Vicky on the old Anna Nicole Smith reality show. They hauled out this cousin of hers, and this girl had seen better days. No teeth.
Oh, wow.
Fully like
singing
in her 30s.
Singing Christmas carols naked in her jacuzzi.
Just getting completely drunk, at Anna Nicole's house. Just craziness. And you're like, okay, Cousin Vicky looked wild. She looked crazy, And this woman, it's like she's a mom. She's got her kids.
Yeah, she just looked like a normal mom lady from 1990.
But then you're just like, oh boy. All right.
And it also just kind of makes you think about kind of these giant celebrities like Madonna, Brad Pitt, Michael Jackson, that they would have had sort of relationships with people when they were younger, way before they knew that they were famous.
Yeah.
That those people are just sort of holding on to these memories now of these people and have probably created an entirely fictional relationship with them in their mind.
Yeah.
This is who this person is to me.
Yeah.
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 Well, even the other brother, the one that doesn't work with her, the one that looks like Aiden Quinn.
Sounds like Aiden Quinn.
Sounds like Aiden Quinn, too.
I think I said that when we were watching it.
Yes. He was saying that, he has, like, friends or acquaintances that will give him a hard time when they find out that he's Madonna's brother. And it's just like, well, she can't employ her entire family. Mm-hmm. And, what is she going to buy mansions for everybody? It's like, if your sister is Madonna, I mean, you can still, live a normal, modest life. But it's like, if you tell somebody in the 80s, my sister's Madonna, they're going to be like, and you drive that? So it's like, I can see where people would come to him and be like, well, that's weird if your sister's the biggest pop star on the planet.
And you'd feel like you were under a microscope and being held to some standard that, I mean, honestly, who could live up to that?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely, So, and that's her own family members, so to say like some girl that grew up on her block, like Scott said, you just completely make up a weird, maybe they were, good friends at one point. And Madonna tells these stories, these exaggerated stories of we were in the bed together and blah, blah, blah. We weren't wearing any clothes. And the girl's going, it's funny the way they cut it back and forth of Madonna telling the story and then clearly them recounting what Madonna has said back to Maureen. And she's just like, well, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
And we're talking as we're watching it, how much of this do you think is real? But again, Madonna's just, playing it up for the camera.
Yeah, she's a storyteller.
Yeah, the truth, I think you said it, Scott, is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So,
do we want to talk a little bit about when Madonna meets Pedro and Antonio? Because that scene is insane. Like, I don't know what's going through Madonna's mind of that. We're going to this
What
party
does she
with
think is
Pedro
gonna happen?
Almodovar, cool art house director from Spain, and the hottest man in the world, 1990, Antonio Banderas. Was she just like, I'm just going to hook up with this guy and fuck him? And we're just going to get it all on camera. And, his wife is in the room.
And his wife looked like she was playing it off like not a big deal, throwing kisses, but her eyes looked mad.
Yeah. Antonio got like a good... And Antonio, on the way back to their hotel in the car, got a good mouthful from that one.
Oh, well, I bet.
Madonna did say that Antonio told her, hey, this is Spain.
Sure.
Doesn't matter, But, okay. So in the 90s, when this comes out, I'm a kid. I don't know from Pedro Almodovar movies, right? He has already been making movies at this point.
What was his big one where he played Laws of Desire? With Antonio, with Pedro Almodovar.
Are these in the 90s or are these in the late 80s?
I think that's in the late 80s.
Because I'm thinking, I don't really have a feel for what the hip indie movie scene is like, but I think that's kind of Madonna's on top of it. She does know what's cool, you know? And she was like, we're in Spain. I'm going to go to an Almodovar party and I'm going to meet his muse, Antonio Banderas. So at that time, I don't think that had crossed over here at all.
No.
I don't think anybody in the States knew or cared.
Anyone buying a ticket to this movie wouldn't have known who these two people were in 91.
Was Antonio's big American breakthrough El Mariachi? It had to have been.
Not Zorro, The Mask of Zorro.
No,
that was later.
Not Mask of Zorro. That was later. Yeah.
And Law of Desire was from 87 too.
When was El Mariachi? The American one.
I'm on Pedro Almodovar's IMDb.
We'll look that up because, he kind of broke out with that, with the American remake, with Salma, and that. But that was probably Original Sin with Angelina Jolie. I saw that at the theater. Why?
But that was 2001 though.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm going through the IMDb and I'm seeing all.
I mean, I feel like it would have been Philadelphia. Would have really broke him to audiences.
Yeah. Okay.
He was in the House of the Spirits. No one talks about that movie with Meryl Streep and Glenn. But I feel like Philadelphia would have broke him. 93. And then Interview with the Vampire came out in 94.
Right.
And then Desperado was 95.
95.
Yeah.
So in 91, he was not on the radar of American.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
And I forget that he went on to star in Evita with her.
That's right.
I completely forgot about that.
Man, yeah. How about that? Yeah, but that party situation is crazy. But, I mean, like I said, what I took away from it was that she was very kind of I think she did have her finger on the pulse of what was cool, what was upcoming, Because, she was, a pop star. She wasn't really doing anything, avant-garde, in the music world, but as just kind of, a celebrity and a personality.
She does have avant-garde music taste, too. I feel like I've read articles, she does have her finger on the pulse.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was really cool, and that's kind of what I took away from it. But I do remember that was something, in, reviews of this movie, that scene in particular would get called out, just the gall of this woman to go to this party, and
and it's been sort of discussed recently in the past year that I think it was Pedro said it in an interview when they showed up at this party. They told both of them, this is just a personal thing, don't worry about it. So they didn't really have a context of what it was, but it was just sort of personal concert diary, don't worry about it. Nothing's going to become with it, and then it became Truth or Dare. Yep.
Well, I mean, if you're at an industry party and Madonna walks in with the film crew,
you're not going to announce to the entire party, "I'm filming this documentary. Act natural."
But if you see her there with the film crew, you kind of think, well, I don't know. We have a different mindset today of seeing people walking around with film crews, I guess. But yeah, maybe at the time you're just all right, whatever. They're just making something little. But I don't think they ever really made anything of it. I don't think Almodovar and Antonio Banderas were ever scandalized, right?
I'll have to go back and read that interview.
Yeah.
kind of to change gears to just Madonna in general, that kind of, this is a documentary, but I think that Madonna's acting career is very fascinating. Because Madonna's somebody she's been acting since the 80s. I mean, Desperately Seeking Susan, Who's That Girl? Those were both released the late 80s. But there's something about Madonna on film that has never really landed completely. Like, she got close to it with Evita.
Evita,
she got a Golden Globe,
she was good in Evita,
but
yeah.
Evita was also, the reception for Evita was very, very mixed when it came out. And she was probably not close to that Oscar nomination. So it's one of those things that she's always been in movies, but they always haven't been received all that well. What's kind of your favorite Madonna movie, or like anything that like stands out as one of your favorites? Because there's a lot of bad movies.
I mean, I think she's great in Desperately Seeking Susan, but I mean, you just get the feeling you're watching Madonna.
Right.
I liked her in Evita. I liked Evita and her singing in it. I know a lot of people were not so happy about the fact that they didn't, and I understand this, like actually hire
a Latin woman,
woman to play
for the
Evita.
time in '96, that was discussed.
Yeah. But I liked Evita. But yeah, in a lot of her movies, she comes across a little wooden to me, or I didn't feel that really about Evita. I think she did. She did come through in Evita. I'm trying to think of what are some of the. I mean, Body of Evidence. Oh boy,
I've never seen Body of Evidence. I think that she's really well used in A League of Their Own, but she's not in a lot of it though.
Right. Oh, she is so good in A League of Their Own.
She's good in A League of Their Own, and I didn't find out until recently, in the past like 6 months, that Deborah Winger was cast as the lead, and she refused to take it because Madonna was cast.
Really.
Deborah Winger was
weird.
supposed to be
Like, what is
the
that?
Gina
Like,
Davis role.
I don't
and
understand.
they just didn't get along, and she didn't want to make it.
Yeah, was it just like a weird puritanical, like, oh, that woman is just a harlot?
Or was it like she thought that, okay, it's not going to be a serious movie if Madonna's in it?
Yeah.
Or she'll try to upstage me somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very interesting stance to take, or hill to die on, or whatever. But we got Gina Davis, and she's great in it.
Yeah, I love A League of Their Own.
Oh, I love that movie
Such like
too.
a great comfort movie.
Yeah, we got to do that movie on this show soon. We will.
And then I feel like sort of the last foray Madonna's made into movies was that movie W.E. that she just directed.
But she didn't act
She
in
was
it,
not
yeah.
in it.
Was that the one about Wallace Simpson?
Yes.
How was that? I didn't see it.
I did not see it
Yeah,
either.
none of us
I
saw it.
like the song that she made for it, Masterpiece, that was on MDMA. I did not see the movie. So yeah, I mean, I kind of hope that Madonna has a few more bad movies left in her.
What was the one
There's
with
still
Rupert
time.
Everett?
The Next Best Thing.
The Next Best Thing.
That's a bad movie. That movie is awful.
Oh man, I like the music that she does for movies.
Yeah, and she's even never has gotten a nomination for any of the songs that she's done. I'll Remember from With Honors is one of my favorite Madonna
Love I'll
songs.
Remember, yeah.
Her song Beautiful Stranger from The Spy Who Shagged Me rocks. But yeah, and she's just never gotten
Live
that.
to Tell.
Oh,
She's just never
Yeah.
really gotten that respect from the industry when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I bet that just like pisses her off. That she's never cracked it.
Well, the whole Best Original Song thing is, as we know, is kind of a mess.
That's kind of
It's a mess.
That's like a hot mess of a music branch.
It's a really hard category of the Academy Awards to break, because the rules are very strict.
The
for Best
rules are
Original
very
Song.
strict, and I think that there's a lot of old square voters voting on all of those movies.
Yeah, yeah.
But
plus, we talk about this a lot, Scott, you and I, just kind of in our personal life, in that there aren't any, like, movies don't have pop theme songs anymore.
No, not like they
like
used
they
to.
did in the 80s and the 90s.
And then you have the freeze frame at the end,
Yes.
like very dramatic. Like,
yeah. I mean, Top Gun. Get out of here. Does it take my breath away?
Take my breath away. I've had the time of my life.
Yeah, Dirty Dancing had a time of your life.
Danger Zone from Top Gun.
Danger Zone, yeah, you know. But I mean, it's like the time of like Irene Cara winning like an Oscar.
I mean,
for fame.
We got there close with Gaga.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to dig up some.
But I mean, that movie was a musical.
Yep.
I
don't
so
know
it's built into.
I don't know if they're
going
gonna
movie.
put on a song in this House of Gucci movie from Gaga to get her another one. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, we don't have any like pop songs to like accompany movies anymore, and I feel like Madonna never like we said, you know, I'll remember it with honors, but that's such a weird one. Mm-hmm. Like that movie is anybody remember with honors?
Do you just
This used to be my playground from.
Song? Oh
it
yeah,
was the closing credit song from
League of Their Own. But those songs just never got the critical attention from voters.
Yeah, This used to be my playground. I always thought. The song is such a downer.
Well, like, that movie came out like right when I graduated high school. I remember walking with my sister. We went to see it at Atlantic Palace, which isn't there anymore. One of my teachers from my high school had just dropped out of had just like left being a nun, and I saw her and she was like holding hands with a date. And then,
oh my God.
And I was just like, I remember it so well. And then, that song, I mean, I had just graduated freaking high school. So it was very emotional for me. It would come on and I just felt very wistful. Yeah. I thought it was a great song.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is. It's a really good song. But yeah, I just was like, oh, it's so sad. But it's fitting for, you know, the movie and all of that. Oh man. First of all, seeing teachers in the wild is crazy.
In the wild, yeah.
Just like anyway.
I was like, is that? It is.
But to see a sister who has like left, oh my goodness, that's a big one. Yeah,
you know, and you're like 17 and you're just like, so much change is happening.
Yes, wow. And she stayed in Alhambra.
And stayed at the school, and actually,
did she?
Like she taught my sister.
Oh wow! Okay.
Oh
my goodness, that's interesting. Well, that's good. That's forward thinking. They weren't like, get out,
yeah,
sinner, you divorced God. I love the idea that nuns are married to God.
Yeah, I do married to God.
That's your husband. God.
Kind of going back to Truth or Dare. I'd be curious to hear what Madonna's thoughts on this movie are now. It's probably hard for her to watch just because of the dancers. The sort of the changing relationship with the dancers after the movie. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that Madonna took a lot of that very, very personal, and she'll probably never talk to them ever again.
Well, I have some tea on that.
Ooh,
so
okay.
In that interview that I sent you guys, like check it out. It's not too long. It's like a half an hour. They describe like when they met, when Kevin,
Oliver,
and
I think Gabriel was the main one. Yeah,
when they and their lawyer met with Madonna and her lawyer, and sat across the table, they said she would not look at them until like the very end, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
like she refused to look at them, and that was her way of communicating to them as they interpreted it, like her hurt, her disapproval. It was kind of like, you're dead to me. I get the impression from her she's just like, I'm about the future.
Yeah.
I don't look back. She does every now and then in her Instagram, but
not a lot though.
Not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot.
Yeah. Interesting.
And just sort of the current state of Madonna's career. Like, I don't want to be too hard on her. Like, her last album, there's a few songs that I like on it. But, yeah, I mean, it is Madonna just trying to keep up with the kids. And that sometimes it's just a little weird.
Well, I think my biggest problem is kind of younger people not really caring, or just kind of like throwing her away, just being like, oh, whatever, that's old music. That's
probably
that's
just not
music.
Putting into scope the gravitas of that woman's career and what she's done for just building just modern pop.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like, obviously as you move forward, there's going to be comparisons to, you know, like Lady Gaga or whatever, but it's like, and that's the other thing. It's like Madonna has always been so outspoken, you know, air quotes, or like unfiltered or whatever, that every now and then she will say something that will rub people the wrong way. And people will like latch onto that, you know? So like Lady Gaga fans are like, well, she said that Lady Gaga is derivative or something. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right. That was like, you know, okay. So it's like forever they're going to be like, well, I don't like... But it's like, oh, come on. Listen to listen to freaking Express Yourself. I remember my family, we were driving into LA. We're driving into downtown LA, and we were going to, I think we were going to go to the circus, actually. Like, literally going to the circus. Like,
love it.
Like, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey was coming through LA, and the commercials would be on, like, you remember the commercials would be on TV nonstop, like, come see the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. And we were going to the circus. It was like a big deal. We're driving. I remember being on the 10 freeway with, like, you could see downtown LA skyline right in front of you as you're driving towards it. And it was like after school, probably on a Friday, and it was the evening going towards it. And Kiss FM was on. And Express Yourself came on. And it was the first time any of us heard it. And my mom and my sister were like, it's the new Madonna song. And like, we like listened to all of Express Yourself. And me and my sister were just like, that song was so good. Mm-hmm. We were just like, that was amazing. We were just like, that was awesome. Like, it was the first time we'd ever, and I will never forget it. And then going back and seeing the video, and the video was like epic.
Oh, and drawing from like German expressionism.
Yes,
we watched it in one of my classes in college, actually, and broke that down when we were studying
Metropolis, all of that. Yeah. And, yeah, it's just getting that feeling like when a new song comes out from like an artist that's just like, but it was just that thing where like everybody was listening to Madonna. It was just
Well, you want to know what I remember from that time, from the Like a Prayer album. I remember being in my room in high school listening to Rodney Biggenheimer on a Sunday night, and Like a Prayer had just come out. He played Like a Prayer.
Oh, wow.
On his show. Yeah. And it was not like, in his normal repertoire to play Madonna music at all, but he played it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because that album and that song at the time were probably a little bit more like, not controversial, but just a little different than like an average pop song or whatever. So
Prince collaborated with her on that album.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And you were mentioning earlier that when you bought Like a Prayer, it smelled like incense.
Yes, yes. And I read later it was actually patchouli, but she thought
that makes more sense. Yeah,
felt that it evoked, church incense. But I remember I was at my friend's house. She bought the cassette.
We had the tape. Yeah,
and opening it and just being like, "This smells good."
Yeah, my sister bought the tape, and I'll forever remember just like smelling and just be like, "Oh my goodness." Yeah. See, stuff like that. It's like, are pop stars doing those kinds of things these days?
I think
probably.
Katy Perry tried to do something like that and put I think that she tried to put seeds in one of her albums.
Okay.
And then I think that something
Wildflowers.
became of it because transporting
oh my God. Yeah,
transporting
agriculture.
plants and agriculture over borders or something.
Do that, yeah.
Oh wow!
That's
funny.
I see what you're saying, that we just live at a time where there's so much entertainment that there's not really a lot of collective listening to something.
Things that captivate
captivate everyone.
Yeah.
When also everyone just has a fucking opinion these days and has to put it on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like those were like the last like group of like pop stars and like musicians that happened, and we talk about it all the time, the three of us, like she was the reason we would watch the VMAs.
Yeah.
And she performed almost every year, and it would be a huge thing, and culminating with like the Vogue performance with these dancers. Listeners, look it up on YouTube right now.
So good.
This Vogue performance it's everything. It's like, if you're not familiar with Madonna, but like if you watch like Glee or like any of that shit, like it's all there.
Yep.
It's all there,
Yeah.
The Vogue video was like insane to me as a kid. It was
directed by David Fincher. I remember my mind was blown when I found that out.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, she was just like she was just doing shit nobody else was doing, and much like just producing an entire concert documentary movie.
Yeah,
and
also just kind of thinking outside the box that I could just do a basic concert movie for HBO. Like they could just get coverage from the shows, but Madonna wanted to make it a little special.
Yeah. And it's like, pop stars today have concert movies. It's like a Billie Eilish one on Disney Plus right now.
And they're all sort of emulating Truth or Dare, too.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That's probably a huge inspiration for them.
Yeah, I would say so. So yeah, I feel like right now there's a lot of like, especially with like, gay people and like young, gay, like, people, I was going to say people who listen to music. So human beings.
I think just people just try to dismiss her as being irrelevant still.
Yes.
And I do get that, like, there is something about Madonna's new music that I do think it feels a little off. Like, there's a few tracks that I like off of Madam X, but there's also a lot of it that I don't really care for.
Sure.
Too. That I do kind of get that it is Madonna just trying to stay relevant and young. Too at the same time.
Yeah.
That sometimes it doesn't really go over that well for a woman in her 60s.
And if she let that go, then what would she produce? I'm curious to know what that would be.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, who knows? Maybe it would be a whole new, I don't know. It could be anything.
She would take issue with what we're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, it's Madonna and she can do whatever the fuck she wants because she's Madonna.
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah.
But yeah, and it does come down to taste too, because it's like, my mom, one of her like most like beloved musical artists of all time, she just loves Donna Summer. And it's like, do I love every Donna Summer song? Not really.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not super duper into disco. But it's like, I don't know. I do understand how huge of a phenomenon disco was and what Donna Summer meant to all these people. So it's like, you don't have to like all of her music, and maybe, to us, we listen to all the old songs and we're just like, yeah, it's Madonna. But maybe to a kid right now, they're just like, what is this? What the hell is?
And we'll always have
yourself,
it's like, I'll always have Ray of Light. You guys will always have like Express Yourself and all of those songs. Like they'll never go away.
Yeah. Ray of Light's so good. That album is so good. Oh my goodness.
I remember when I heard Frozen, I was just like, it's so lush.
Yeah.
I love the Middle Eastern influence, and it's just such a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Her video for Power of Goodbye, I think that is the most beautiful Madonna has ever looked. Where she's in that black hair.
Yeah.
And
she's just in like a little like wrap dress. Very simple. But yeah, you're right. Love that.
Very incandescent.
I remember seeing that on MTV and just being just sort of in awe of how beautiful she looked.
Yeah. But what's interesting too, a lot of the stuff that she did around Ray of Light, it's like you can never get away with today with all of the henna body art.
Oh yeah. Appropriation.
But it was, I don't know, it was a different time. But is it really appropriate? She's not like in brown face. She's not like wearing full costumes, but she would do like the henna hand tattoos and.
I mean, Gwen Stefani was wearing bindies and that at that time, and I mean, everyone was. That was appropriating huge. Indian culture or drawing from it.
Yeah.
I mean, I even had. I think I picked it up from like Contempo Casuals. I had this like handbag with a Hindu god on it, and then I remember a few years later, I had a friend who was Hindu, and she's like, "Yeah, it's just so insulting. That's my culture. It's my religion.
It's not your costume."
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, I guess the bindies and all of that is probably not a good look. So, yeah, different time.
It was so prevalent.
It really was. I remember just like bars and things would just have like fabrics strewn from the ceilings.
Is that at the 4800?
The 4100?
The 4100. Yeah. You always said that it looks like Gwen Stefani's bedroom.
Yes.
Whenever we would go in.
It did, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was everywhere though. I was gonna say maybe you got that purse at the Brass Plum.
Yeah, no, it was Contempo. I think it was when my sister was working there.
There you go.
I think I got like a discount.
Yeah. You got her 15% off. I love that. Yeah, because that was a big thing too at the time. Just like stick on like jewels.
Yes.
For your hair. And
I mean, Catholic imagery was being like Dolce and Gabbana. That was around that time they were putting, it was like on like silk screen prints of, Virgin Mary. There was a lot of religious imagery from all over the world popping up.
Absolutely. And Catholic imagery, as somebody who's raised Catholic, I don't care if anybody's just like, I'm going to wear like the Virgin. That's to me. But I do understand where religion is a little bit more woven into culture, like, Indian, and Hinduism and things like that. I get that is a little bit more of an insulting thing.
And people who've been colonized.
Yes.
It's like, it continues.
Yeah, absolutely. But, at the time it was just like, look how spiritual she has become.
Yes.
Look at what having a child has done to Madonna.
Yes.
It has made her...
I remember watching MTV, and there was an MTV news break with Kurt Loder, and he said that Lourdes was born. I remember that.
Like broke into...
I remember where I was.
To like whatever it was, Beavis and Butthead.
Yep.
Stop the presses. Madonna has given birth to her baby.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they were on the cover of Vanity Fair. I remember that, her and Lourdes. That was a big deal, too.
What I saw on Debbie Mazar's post about Lourdes' birthday, and when I forgot, she was referring to her as Lola. And I remember the whole thing was that before Lourdes was even born, Madonna was like, oh, this is going to be her name, but we're going to call her Lola. And that was a very trendy name at the time.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of like 25-year-old Lolas running around.
Probably.
Kathy,
right now.
Kelly Ripa Consuelos, her daughter is named Lola.
Oh, well, there you go. Mm-hmm. See?
I told you guys right after Lola was born, I was at UCLA and I went to Rite Aid in Westwood Village and Carlos Leon was standing right in front of me buying diapers.
Oh,
and
wow.
And that guy, was he in a relationship with Madonna, or was she just like, I want to have a kid. Do you want to have a kid? Let's make this work.
Yeah, no, they were dating.
Were they dating?
Briefly, but
okay.
Yeah, they were dating.
He was right in front of me, tall, like.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm like, I know who those diapers are for. He looked a little uncomfortable. Like,
sure, yeah.
I think he probably saw in my eyes. Like, he looked back at me at one point. I was like,
crazy eyes. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's a good one.
It's a good one,
man.
right?
Carlos Leon. I wonder what he's up to these days. Call in, Carlos. We'll have you on the show. Oh man. Well, I mean, I think the three of us could definitely.
We covered a lot of Madonna.
Night.
I mean, there's so much to talk about with this movie, but
yes.
I think we did a pretty decent job at it. I mean, I'll always just revisit Madonna on YouTube's, like on the YouTubes. I will just put on like a block of music videos that I was listening to Madonna today in my walk, so she's someone that I still return to a lot.
Well, the thing that I really love about Truth or Dare as a film is that if you're not super into documentaries, there is the concert aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And the concert footage is beautiful.
It's
well shot.
You feel like you're on the stage.
Yeah, you feel
like you're there.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing when it just cuts to color. You're just like, it's that Wizard of Oz moment. It's just like, ooh, okay, we're gonna go into a song now. I love it, and it's just it's so well edited. The way they like weave in the songs and there, and kind of unexpected songs that they include.
Like, Oh Father.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm glad that they include Live to Tell. Mm-hmm. It's funny though, as we're watching it, I'm thinking, man, this concert is like all bangers. But like up until this point, it's pretty much her whole catalog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they're just not including like super deep cuts. But up to 1991, these are the hits.
Yep,
this is it.
I mean, this movie had a huge moment in pop culture. We were just watching the Blossom episode today, where Blossom has a dream that she is in her very own Truth or Dare documentary. And the episode is fucking terrible.
Well, it's Blossom.
And I just don't know what is going through these writers' minds that we are going to make a Truth or Dare parody and our audience is children. I don't know. And just like Mayim Bialik just doing all these little bits. And just you can just tell the writers are thinking, this is going to be hilarious.
Oh, they loved it.
They loved it.
Yeah. There's a French and Saunders Truth or Dare parody. There's famously our friend Julie Brown.
She did one. Yeah. I think Kathy Griffin is in that too.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Julie Brown has a whole Madonna-esque alter ego, Medusa. And this is Medusa's Dare to Be Truthful. So you can look that up. It's pretty funny. We love Julie Brown. You all
downtown Julie Brown?
Not quite downtown Julie Brown.
The other Julie Brown on MTV.
White Julie Brown.
White Julie Brown.
She's in Clueless. She's the gym teacher in Clueless. She's Miss Stoger. Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar. But that's our other mega 90s reference. But it's like it's been parodied all over the place. It's just became a part of pop culture.
Yeah, I mean, it was
just
a huge moment.
Everything else from Madonna.
Even if I did think that it was a dirty movie when I was a child.
And of course, that was followed by the sex book. That was even more controversial, really.
And that's what's crazy about the career of Madonna, that when you think of like, are you going to see like Ariana Grande do a sex book? No. It's like, that is just like how insane Madonna's career is.
You know who would do a sex book? Lil Nas X.
Lil Nas X would do a sex book. And I feel like Lil Nas X is the closest thing that we have today to a contemporary Madonna, even though Lil Nas X's music isn't quite as far-reaching as Madonna is.
Sure.
Lil Nas X
public persona
knows how to
push buttons,
deliver a public persona and push buttons.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. I'm gonna go with that moving forward. Oh man, Marlene,
thank you so much.
This is so fun.
We've been talking about this episode for a while, and I'm glad that we finally did it.
Oh, me too. This was so enjoyable. I'm so glad we watched it together.
Yes, that was really fun. Yep. That was the most fun part about all this. Listeners, you didn't get to watch that.
There's also a new concert movie from Madonna that is on Paramount Plus, like right now.
It's Madame X.
It's from the Madame X tour. Yeah. I tried to get tickets to that concert.
Ooh, that was
There
hard.
was a block of days at the Wiltern, and I did not get it.
It was like a year ago, wasn't it?
It was like about a year and a half ago, or maybe even 2 years. Like, what is time anymore?
She did like a week. She did like 5 shows in LA.
But you had to go in a lottery because that's how high in demand the seats or like the tickets were, because the Wiltern isn't like the Forum.
Yeah, I think a week of shows at the Wiltern is like one night at like the Staples Center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I tried to get tickets to that. Didn't get them. And also, I tried for Caesar's Palace in Vegas. Also didn't work out.
I mean, and that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That in 2021,
she still has that following.
Still selling them out. I mean, maybe everybody in there is going to, go home and go straight to bed.
Right. Exactly. They're not going to the clubs after. They're going, that's it. That's it for the night.
Yeah. Maybe most people will be sitting down through the entire concert.
I mean, Madonna still has quite a career ahead of her. Like, maybe I'll see her again.
I've never. If I do, I want to go with you guys.
Okay. Yeah. Because that would be so much fun. Because I still have never seen Madonna show. So one day we're holding out hope. But yeah, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you on again in the future. We'll think about something else. So, but until then, we bid you adieu. Bye, Marlene.
Bye.
And thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Thanks so
much. Yes, indeed. I could talk about Madonna all night.
Same.
And I feel like we did. But thanks for sticking around with us for that one. That was another fun one, as always. But I think it's about that time.
Patreon shout-outs?
Yes, indeed. Patreon shout-outs. We would love to say a big hello and thank you so much to Travis, Esperanza, Nicole, Susan, Barry, JJ, Leighton, Shelby, Merle, Michael, Charlie, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Emma, Millie, Aaron, Melinda, and Jim, Jessica, Nick, and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thanks so much.
Head over to www.patreon.com/moviesthatmadeusgay for lots of fun, additional exclusive content. We've got a newsletter. We've got Watch With Us commentary tracks. We've got pictures. We've got playlists. We've got postcards. Got a ton of great stuff.
It's got a new book of postcards from Palm Springs. Cool vintage Palm Springs postcards.
Yes, indeed.
I got to get those out soon.
Those will be coming at you. But head over to Patreon for that. We would also love it if you would like and rate and review our show.
5 stars.
Yes, indeed. Head over to Apple Podcasts if you're an Apple user and give us 5 stars. It's easy. It's free. And we got ourselves back up to 5.0.
Yay!
We were at 4.9 for a hot minute because some fool out there gave us a low star rating, but we got ourselves back up. So thank you for doing that. But if you write us a review, we'll read it on the show. Yeah, easy as that. So head on over and do that. You can follow us on socials, Instagram and Facebook at Movies That Made Us Gay.
And Twitter at MTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. You can follow me. My name is Pete. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Peter Lasagna.
I'm Oscar Scott on Twitter and Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow me on Letterboxd.
Yes, indeed. Go check us out there. Thank you so much, everybody. Until next week, we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.